You waste your strength seeking validation, but here is the truth: no one cares about you. They care only about themselves. And once you accept this brutal reality, you hold the power to shape the world around you, because indifference is the soil from which control grows. Human beings live under a cruel illusion: that others carry their burdens, that society owes them comfort, that their suffering is noticed. But this is a lie. The world is deaf to your cries, blind to your struggle, and indifferent to your dreams. Yet within this merciless truth lies liberation. When you stop begging for concern, you stop being weak. When you embrace the silence of others, you learn to command it. In this realm of power, where sentiment is a mask and survival is the only law, indifference becomes your greatest weapon. You are taught to expect care, to believe others will notice your struggle, that if you fall, someone will rush to lift you. But reality does not bend to such fantasies. The truth is simple, and it cuts deep: no one cares. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. Every man is bound first to himself. Every woman is chained to her own survival. Your suffering is background noise to the crowd, easily ignored, swiftly forgotten. And yet, this bitter truth hides a form of liberation, for once you stop expecting care, you stop being enslaved by disappointment. Look at history. Caesar did not rise because Rome cared about him. Rome was selfish. Hungry, they cheered him when he fed their appetites, and they murdered him when his power became inconvenient. He rose because he understood expectation is death. He gave them bread, he gave them spectacle. But he expected nothing from their loyalty. When you abandon expectation, you become sharper, harder, impossible to break. Why do you suffer when ignored? Because you cling to the illusion that people owe you attention. But who told you this lie? Your parents, perhaps, in the softness of childhood. Your teachers who promised effort would be rewarded. But adulthood is war, and war recognizes no debt of comfort. When you walk into a room, people are not thinking of you. They are calculating. How does this person serve me? What advantage do they bring? What threat do they pose? This is the brutal arithmetic of human nature. Once you see it, you stop begging for recognition. You stop bleeding from invisible wounds. And you begin to use the indifference of others as your shield. Consider the beggar in the street. He cries, but no one listens. Why? Because expectation drains him of dignity. He assumes the world should care. And when it does not, he is broken. Now contrast him with the merchant. He knows people care only for gain. So he offers what they desire and grows rich. Expectation is weakness. Calculation is power. And what of the man who constantly seeks validation? Every silence tortures him. Every ignored message eats at his mind. He is a slave to attention, desperate, predictable. Such a man is easily controlled. Compliment him, and he bends. Ignore him, and he collapses. Do you see? Those who expect care are puppets waiting for a master. But when you embrace the death of expectation, something shifts inside you. Suddenly, their silence no longer stings. Their indifference becomes a mirror, showing you that you owe nothing in return. You are free to act, free to pursue, free to exploit, because you no longer seek repayment in sympathy. This is why rulers, generals, and cunning minds always stood apart. They did not beg to be understood. They did not wait for kindness. They moved as if the world owed them nothing. And in that void, they carved out their own dominion. The psychology is clear. Expectation breeds resentment. Resentment breeds weakness, and weakness invites predators. But the absence of expectation breeds resilience. Resilience breeds strategy, and strategy carves the path to dominance. Ask yourself this: how many betrayals in your life came from expecting someone to care? The friend who vanished when you were in need. The lover who promised forever, then chose another. The colleague who smiled, but sharpened a knife behind your back. Each wound was carved not by their betrayal, but by your expectation of loyalty. Kill expectation, and betrayal loses its teeth. You simply nod, as though you had seen it coming. Because you did. There is a story of a Florentine diplomat who, when imprisoned, wrote to his enemies thanking them for showing their true nature. He had never expected their loyalty. Therefore, their cruelty was no loss to him, only confirmation. That is power to watch others reveal themselves without flinching. So I ask you, what if you lived without expecting care? What if every favor was taken as fortune, not as debt owed to you? Would you not move lighter, think clearer, strike sharper? Expectation is a prison built by weakness. The moment you escape, you cannot be chained again. And here lies the paradox. Only when you accept that no one cares do you begin to command others. For while they wait for sympathy, you wait for opportunity. While they beg for kindness, you exploit their blindness. And while they suffer disappointment, you suffer nothing. This is the death of expectation, the first step toward indifference. The first shield of true power. But indifference is not merely protection. It is a weapon. And once you learn to wield it, the world bends in ways the sentimental will never see. The world is full of arrows, insults, betrayals, humiliations. Most men are pierced by them daily. Why? Because they care too much. They let every slight enter their heart. They believe every word defines them. They bleed over every look, every silence, every rejection. But the wise man wears armor, and that armor is indifference. You may think indifference is weakness, a form of apathy. It is not. It is discipline. It is the art of refusing to be wounded. It is the shield that makes you untouchable. Consider the rulers of old. When rivals mocked them, did they strike in rage? No, they smiled, they waited, they observed. And then, when the moment was right, they crushed their enemies in silence. Because insult means nothing if it does not penetrate. Look to Alexander the Great. He endured whispers in his court, accusations of arrogance, of cruelty, of claiming godhood. Had he reacted, he would have looked insecure. Instead, he ignored them, and his indifference transformed him into a figure beyond criticism. When you do not flinch, even lies lose their power. Now think of your own life. How often do you burn because someone dismissed you? How often do you replay a conversation, wishing you had the perfect response? You waste your energy on ghosts. The insult is forgotten by the one who threw it, yet you cradle it like a dagger in your chest. Why? Because you have no armor. Because you care. But once you wear indifference, nothing sticks. The dagger slides off your plate of steel. The arrow falls harmlessly to the ground. And suddenly, the attacker looks like a fool, desperate for a reaction they will never receive. Indifference humiliates your enemies more than anger ever could, for anger admits they struck you. Indifference proves they are powerless. Psychologists know this. Attention is fuel. The moment you react, you feed the fire. When you withhold reaction, the flame dies. And in that silence, you gain control. This is why manipulators seek to provoke. They insult you not to wound, but to make you reveal your weakness. And when you do, they know exactly where to strike. But if you show nothing, if you remain cold, steady, unmoved, they are left staring into a void they cannot control. Even in love, indifference is armor. The lover who shows desperation is chained. The one who can walk away holds the power. For people desire what they cannot fully possess. And nothing is more desirable, more maddening than the one who remains slightly beyond reach. Do you see the pattern? Indifference is not retreat, it is strategy. It is standing in battle while arrows fall, smiling because none can touch you. Picture a modern example. A colleague undermines you at work, mocking you in front of others. If you lash out, you look unstable. If you defend yourself, you look insecure. But if you remain calm, indifferent, his words hang in the air exposed. The audience begins to question him, not you. Indifference shifts the burden back to the attacker. Now, imagine a rival online spreading lies about you. If you argue, you validate him. If you rage, you show weakness. But if you stay silent, he shouts into the void, and the silence is deafening. Even animals understand this law. A lion ignores the barking of dogs. Why? Because to engage them would reduce him to their level. Power is not proven in petty battles. It is proven in the ability to rise above them. But do not confuse indifference with passivity. It is not about doing nothing. It is about choosing when to act. You ignore the insult, but you remember it. You smile at betrayal, but you file the name away. You walk through fire, untouched on the outside, while inside you are already sharpening the knife. Indifference protects your pride in public. But it also buys you time in private, time to plan, time to strike when the enemy no longer expects it. Because while they thought they weakened you, they only exposed themselves. Ask yourself, who controls the game? The one who reacts, or the one who watches unshaken? The answer is clear. Power belongs to the cold observer, not the frantic fool. So I ask you, what would change in your life if you stopped caring about every word, every glance, every rejection? Would you not stand taller? Would you not move freer like a shadow no one can pierce? Indifference makes you untouchable. It frees you from chains others don't even know they wear. And once you have mastered this armor, you are no longer merely defending yourself. You are preparing to turn their selfishness into your weapon. That is where the true game begins. Every man cares for himself first. This is the iron law of human nature. They may claim loyalty, they may preach love, faith, or sacrifice. But beneath every word lies a question: what do I gain? You must learn to hear this question in every interaction. For once you recognize it, you hold the key to power. If no one truly cares about you, then their care for themselves is the lever you pull. Consider the banker who lends money. He does not do it out of kindness. He does it for interest. You benefit, yes, but only because he benefits more. This is not friendship. It is transaction, and life itself is built upon this ruthless exchange. The wise do not resist it. They exploit it. Look at Venice in its golden age. That small republic commanded seas, not because others adored it, but because others needed it. Merchants craved access to its ports. Kings required its ships. Venice understood, if you make yourself useful to the self-interest of others, you become indispensable, and the indispensable cannot be ignored. Now think of your own life. Why does anyone answer your calls? Why do they keep you close? Because you serve a function. You provide value, comfort, advantage, or pleasure. Strip this away and watch how quickly they vanish. Do not mourn this truth. Rejoice in it. For if people are selfish, you need not beg for their care. You simply design yourself as the solution to their hunger, and they will cling to you as if you were a lifeline. Psychology proves this with brutal clarity. Studies show people are more persuaded when a request is framed around their benefit, not yours. Say, "Help me, I need you," and you appear weak. Say, "If you do this, it will serve you," and suddenly their ears open. Self-interest is the language all humans understand. Think of the manipulator who always offers small favors. He lends money, gives compliments, provides help. On the surface, he appears generous, but he knows each favor places the other in debt. He creates a network of obligations, invisible chains binding others to him. It is not kindness, it is strategy. Do you see the power here? If you know what others desire, you can guide them like a horse with reins. Ambition, fear, greed, lust, pride. These are the levers. And the one who pulls them controls the motion of others without force. Why did generals pay their soldiers in spoils of war? Not because they cared for their well-being. Because a hungry man will not fight. But a greedy man will risk his life if the reward shines bright enough. Self-interest wins battles where loyalty fails. Ask yourself, what do the people around you truly want? Strip away their words, their pretenses, their masks. Do they crave recognition? Do they hunger for status? Do they lust for wealth? Do they fear abandonment? Once you know, you no longer need their love. You need only to place their desire within your grasp. Even betrayal can be prevented by this law. Why betray you if serving you still benefits them? Why turn against you if staying loyal secures their own gain? Men betray when they believe they profit more from your downfall. Ensure they always profit from your survival, and you will never lack allies. Think of the courtier who flatters the king. He does not love the king. He loves the gold, the influence, the protection. The king, if wise, does not demand affection. He feeds the courtier's hunger, and in doing so. This is the mindset you must adopt. Stop asking, "Do they care about me?" Ask instead, "What do they need from me?" For once you answer that, you know how to keep them close. or how to destroy them when their need runs dry. And remember, self-interest blinds people. A man drunk on gain cannot see the trap in front of him. This is how empires conquer, how businesses rise, how leaders manipulate, by making others believe they are serving themselves, while in truth, they are serving you. So I ask you again, are you trying to win people's hearts? Or are you learning how to grip their hunger? The first path makes you weak, the second makes you dangerous. Because once you master the art of weaponizing self-interest, you no longer chase loyalty. You manufacture it. And when loyalty is manufactured, it cannot be broken. But remember, there is another step beyond this. For when you stand alone, free from needing their care, and skilled at bending their desires, you are ready to discover the strange freedom that comes from true isolation. Most people fear being alone. They cling to others for comfort, for validation, for a sense of identity. But this dependence makes them weak. It makes them predictable. It makes them slaves to the opinions and emotions of the crowd. Isolation, however, is not weakness. It is strength. It is the crucible in which freedom is forged. When you stand alone, you no longer ask permission. You no longer beg for recognition. You see the world with ruthless clarity, because there are no voices clouding your judgment. History is filled with men who discovered this truth. Consider Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. Surrounded by advisors, soldiers, and citizens, yet he returned to solitude each night with his journal. Why? Because only in isolation could he strip away the noise and confront reality. His wisdom was not born from the crowd. It was born from solitude. Or think of the warrior who sharpens his blade alone in the dark. He does not need the praise of others to prepare. He does not need encouragement to focus. And when the moment comes, his strike is cleaner, sharper, deadlier. Isolation teaches you a cruel but liberating lesson: no one is coming to save you. And once you accept this, you stop waiting, you act. You become your own rescuer, your own master, your own source of power. But let us be clear. There is a difference between isolation and exile. Exile is imposed upon you. It is the punishment of being cut off. Isolation, on the other hand, is chosen. It is a deliberate withdrawal, a strategic retreat into the self. Exile weakens. Chosen solitude strengthens. Why does isolation give freedom? Because when you are alone, no one can bribe you with their approval. No one can chain you with guilt or shame. No one can manipulate your need for belonging. You belong to yourself. Psychologists call this internal locus of control, the ability to root your decisions not in the shifting winds of society, but in your own will. The isolated man thinks independently, while the man surrounded by voices thinks only in echoes. Look at modern life. Social media has enslaved millions by weaponizing their fear of isolation. The like, the comment, the share. These are crumbs of validation thrown to desperate men and women who cannot bear silence. Remove them from the crowd, and they collapse. They have no spine of their own. But you, if you cultivate solitude, you become untouchable. You can vanish, and you lose nothing. You can remain silent and still be whole. And when you return to the crowd, you stand taller because you do not need them. They, instead, begin to need you. Consider the general before a great battle. His men look to him for certainty. But if he himself is uncertain, if his strength depends on their approval, the army collapses. Only the leader who has mastered isolation, who has trained his mind to stand alone, can inspire others to follow. He does not draw strength from the crowd. The crowd draws strength from him. Isolation also sharpens strategy. Without it, you are drowned in noise. Every opinion pulls you in a different direction. But in solitude, you can think 10 moves ahead, unseen, unchallenged. The isolated mind becomes like a fortress, impenetrable, self-sustaining, impossible to sway. And here lies the paradox. When you no longer need anyone, everyone begins to seek you. For people are drawn to the man who does not beg. They chase the one who can walk away. They cling to the one who can stand in silence, unbroken. Do you see the pattern? Cling to the crowd, and you become their servant. Stand apart, and you become their master. This is why the strongest leaders, the most cunning rulers, and the most dangerous minds all retreat into isolation. They know the crowd drains power. Solitude creates it. So I ask you, are you terrified of being alone? Or will you use it as your training ground? Will you waste your strength chasing belonging? Or will you seize the freedom that comes from standing apart? For only in chosen isolation do you discover your true weight, and only from that position can you return to the world without chains. But isolation is only the beginning. For once you are free from validation and stronger than the crowd, there remains a darker weapon, the ability to move in shadows, unseen, unpredictable, untouchable. Power is most dangerous when it is unseen. The man who shouts his strength invites resistance. The man who flaunts his wealth attracts envy, but the man who moves in silence, concealed and unreadable, he is the one who controls the board. To be invisible is not to be absent. It is to act without drawing the sword into the light. It is to let others believe they are free, while their strings are already in your hands. History proves this. The Medici family ruled Florence not always from the throne, but from the shadows. They funded wars, controlled trade, decided the fate of nations, yet often without titles or crowns. While others battled in the open, they whispered, paid, persuaded. And the city bent to their will, to rule without appearing to rule. That is the highest form of mastery. Why is shadow power stronger? Because the visible man is vulnerable. Once people know your position, they can predict you. They can oppose you. But if they cannot see you, they cannot strike. You are everywhere and nowhere, a ghost that guides events without being blamed for them. Think of the advisor who shapes the king's decisions. The crowd curses the ruler when things go wrong, but the advisor remains untouched. The king falls. The advisor endures. This is power in the shadow's influence without exposure. Ask yourself, how often do you reveal too much? Do you speak every thought, show every plan, announce every ambition? Then you make yourself a target. People cannot resist attacking what they can see. But when you keep your designs hidden, when you speak little and reveal less, others stumble in the dark. They cannot block a move they do not know exists. Psychologists speak of the illusion of transparency, the mistaken belief that others can read your mind, see your motives, sense your feelings. But the truth is the opposite. People see only what you show them, and if you show nothing, they project their own fears and hopes upon you. Your silence becomes their prison. Consider warfare. The deadliest strike is the ambush, not the frontal charge. The ambush uses the element of shadow, concealment, surprise, unpredictability. And once it lands, the enemy is broken before they even understand what has happened. So it is with life. The frontal man shouts, "Here I am." The shadowed man whispers, "You will never see me coming." In modern life, this principle is no less potent. The entrepreneur who speaks loudly of his ideas finds them stolen. The one who works quietly, revealing only the finished product, wins without competition. The lover who exposes every feeling becomes weak. The one who withholds, who remains slightly unreadable, becomes irresistible. Mystery itself is power. But let me be clear, shadow does not mean cowardice. It does not mean hiding out of fear. It means choosing your visibility with precision. Sometimes you step forward, but only when the outcome is certain. Other times, you disappear, letting others burn themselves in the spotlight while you pull the strings from behind. Think of politics today. Do you truly believe the men on the stage hold all the power? Or do you sense the financiers, the strategists, the unseen hands writing the script? The stage is for actors. The shadows are for masters. Do you understand now why the hunger for recognition is so deadly? The man who demands to be seen becomes dependent on the crowd. The man who embraces the shadows owes the crowd nothing. He does not need applause. He does not need validation. And because of that, He cannot be controlled. Ask yourself, would you rather be the face that is worshipped today and discarded tomorrow, or the hand that directs events for decades without ever being exposed to the mob's rage? The answer should be clear. Visibility is vanity. Shadow is survival. But there is more. Operating in the shadows does not only protect you, it multiplies your power. Because when people cannot see your hand, they imagine it everywhere. Every success, every downfall, every sudden shift. They suspect you, and suspicion is often stronger than certainty. Fear of the hidden enemy breaks men faster than fear of the visible one. So I ask you again, why walk under the sun when the shadows give you cover? Why fight openly when you can win without anyone knowing you struck? The world remembers kings who fell, but it never forgets the shadows that replaced them. And once you master this art, you reach the highest tier of power, to be untouchable, unpredictable, and unavoidable. But there is one final truth. Shadows do not only protect power, they also corrupt it. And the one who rules unseen must be careful, lest the darkness consume him entirely. That, my friend, is the price of mastering invisibility. Power is never seized with noise. It is taken in silence, not by demanding loyalty, but by bending self-interest. Not by shouting your strength, but by moving in shadows where no one can strike you. The world does not care about you. That is your advantage. For when you abandon expectation, when you cloak yourself in indifference, when you weaponize desire and stand alone, you become untouchable. Ask yourself, who holds greater power? The man begging for recognition, or the one who manipulates without being seen? Control lies not in open force, but in hidden influence. It lies in your ability to make others believe they are serving themselves, while all the while they serve you. Now, the question is, will you use these truths or remain blinded by illusions? Comment your thoughts below. Subscribe if you wish to sharpen your mind with more strategies of power. And share this video, because the fewer who understand these truths, the stronger they remain in your hands.